Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dreamleapers Inspiration. I'm your host, Harriet Cole. Very happy to be with you today. It's so good. I look forward to coming together at this time to just shine a light on goodness. It's interesting how negative so many people are, how much negativity there is in our world, I would say, and it can just consume you. That if your outlook is to notice the bad things or expect the bad things, it takes a toll on your being, I think. And that is not the way that I grew up. I grew up being told that you look for the good things. You open your eyes and look around and notice the blessings that are right there in front of your face. That there's always something good that you can see and celebrate no matter what's going on. And that, by the way, wasn't to say if bad things are happening, you pretend they're not. It's not that. That wasn't the approach, but more it was no matter what, there's something good right there in front of your face. Even in the difficult experiences, there's something that we can learn. And if there's something you can learn, then maybe it's not bad. It's just a teaching moment. I was thinking about this in the context of today's focus, which is learn to pivot. Yesterday I went to a soft art opening for a man who I've known for many, many years, a big executive in television. I know him, I don't even remember when we met, but I've known him for a very long time. And always he had a big job in different large media companies. And his wife also is an executive in media. And a couple of years ago, he had a pivotal moment. I don't know that he left his job at that point, and I'm going to learn more about all the details because I'm going to interview him for the other Dreamleapers program. But he started painting. So I don't know whether painting was something he did as a kid and it was his creative outlet. I don't know. What I do know is I just went to an art opening yesterday and there was a gallery filled with his paintings. Beautiful work, portraiture mainly. And I'm like, when did he even have time to do this? He used the creative outlet of painting to really pour forth so much inside of him that had nothing to do with the career that he had built. So add on to that, the reason that he had this art opening wasn't even because of all those paintings. It was because he made a film, a short film about the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing. So the person I'm speaking about is Keith Brown, if any of you all know him. He made a beautiful film. He said that yesterday was the first time that he'd shown it to an audience outside of his core team. It's a 20-minute film that looks at the history of this poem, now song, written by James Weldon Johnson many, I think 125 years ago. And it's a beautiful film, so you should see it. But why I'm bringing it up now is to say, here's this man who had been a big-time executive in television, and he has spent years in a pivot to explore his passion, his artistic passion, his creativity, and then filmmaking too. Now, of course, along the way he learned, especially I'm sure in his job, peripherally he learned about filmmaking. But it's one thing to observe it and a totally different thing to do it. I was so inspired to see that he made choices to cultivate other dimensions of himself and thought it was worth bringing to all of us when things are going however they're going, when life, I like to say life is life, and when things are happening, some things are good things, some things are not good things, just things are happening. How do you spend your time? In your spare time, what do you do? What do you think about? What do you explore? What would the pivot possibly be for you? Sometimes a pivot is literally changing everything. I used to do this, now I do this. Sometimes the pivot involves adding something into the dynamics of your life or taking something away that is no longer serving you. But as I've noticed people who have made transitions at different points in their lives, which, by the way, is most of us. Most people don't have the same thing that they do from the beginning of whenever they become an adult and professional to the end. It used to be you'd have a job and you could have that job for your whole life. You have a career, you have it for your whole life. There are so few people who have their one job for 40 years, 30 years. I have met some of them. I have met some people who have the distinction of having this long runway, and then at the end, they have retirement and they can go and do. That's how it used to be for most Americans. That's not the norm now. So sometimes the pivot is a requirement for survival. And that's okay too. Whether it is survival or just because now is a time for you to do something different, to add something, to take something away, to refine your life. I just want to make sure we are recognizing that it can be a great thing to do that. Something amazing can come out of you pausing and going, something needs to change. And what might that change be? I have a girlfriend who has always been health conscious, but for the past, I'm going to say 2 years, she has gone to the gym every day. And is it paying off? Absolutely. She didn't become muscular. She's become lean. She has no extra body fat. And this woman is in her 60s. It's not like she now looks like she's in her 20s, but she's healthy. And it's an everyday choice. The pivot for her was every day I'm going to the gym. And so if you say every day, every now and then, like when it snowed that day, a week or so ago, she didn't go that day, but she went the next day. When you make a commitment to do something for yourself and then you do it, you feel so good. And the benefits are real. When I look at people who have made these choices for themselves and they've made it for a long enough period that they can see results, I think that that is so incredibly inspiring. And it can be inspiring for those of us who aren't necessarily in the pivot, right? So I think about you. Think about yourself. I think my broadcast is going funny. Think about yourself. Have you made a pivot? Is it time to make a pivot? What's happening in your world that is deserving of a refresh? And if you can identify what it is, can you then figure out what can you do to make sure that that happens? As opposed to going, oh yeah, I need to do that, but I didn't do it. So let's look at the quote that I found. There are a lot of really cool quotes about pivoting, but let's look at the one that I found for us to take. So this is from someone named Eric Ries, who says, a pivot is a change in strategy without a change in vision. So hear this. A pivot is a change in strategy without a change in vision. So, why I thought that was something for us to kind of chew on, like the big vision that you have for your life, if you have one, often the core of your vision remains the same. Who are you? What do you want in your life? What is important to you? What guides your steps? How do you want to live? That big vision often stays right there as a big vision. But how do you execute it may change dramatically. What do you want for your life? What do you stand for? If you do a meditation and really ask yourself, what do I stand for? What is close to my heart? What matters to me for my life? If you dive deeply into answering that question, and then you look at how are you going about making that happen, right? You have this idea. This is how you want to spend your life. This is what your life is for. Why are you on the planet? You kind of figure out why am I here? What am I supposed to do with myself? And maybe you have a good sense of that, but do you the execution of it, maybe what you have been doing isn't working or not working as well as you want. So what's the pivot? What should you do next? What's the next thing that you can do in order to get you closer to your goal? I think that's a really good question because sometimes we feel like, "Oh, I'm a failure. I have this goal and I haven't been able to get to manifest it." Well, are you going about manifesting it in the wrong way for you? Or is there something else that you should be doing in order to fulfill that goal? Is there another way in to manifesting your vision? See, I think sometimes we get caught up with, "Oh, I had this idea, it didn't work. Ugh, I need to go home with my tail between my legs." That's there's so many good quotes about not giving up. But not giving up doesn't mean that you don't tweak. You can have a change in strategy. That's what Eric Ries is saying. A pivot is a change in strategy without a change in vision. So your big vision can remain the same, but how are you going about executing it? What are you doing that can help you to be in better alignment with what your core says that you're supposed to do, what your heart is telling you you're supposed to do, so that you can manifest the big thing, but it may take different steps. And that doesn't mean that you're a failure. That just means, I I tried this way. This way maybe isn't working so well. So what do I do now? Let me regroup and determine what's a better strategy. There's something else that I need to be doing that I maybe don't even know what it is yet. And so what happens when you don't know? When you just are stuck? This happens to a lot of us. You have the vision, you sank everything into it, and then what? If it's not working, what do you do? So that's when I think you first, of course, you just want to be still so that you can listen and survey your world. And then as you survey your world, notice who's in your world. Who is in your world who may be able to support you? See, I think sometimes when we are feeling contracted, when we feel like, "Oh, it's not working," we close down and we isolate ourselves and put put up walls, invisible walls. Stop talking to people. We complain, and complaining is repulsive to people. But instead of doing that, what about surveying your world? Who's in your world? Who might be able to help you? Who might be a great sounding board to talk to you about what your vision is and to help you just volley back and forth to come up with another strategy. I think when we believe that we have to do it all ourselves, when we're embarrassed to talk about it with anybody, especially if we think, I'm not doing well, I failed at whatever it is, that makes us fall way back, going backwards, being stuck. Instead of that, survey your world. Who's there? Who's there who might be a good sounding board? Who's there who might have resources to help you? Who's there who might have time to walk through whatever it is that you need to walk through so you're not alone? We have people like this in our lives. But I'm telling you, so often we end up feeling shut down, isolated, like nobody is there. And yet, generally, there is somebody there. Generally, there's someone who will hold your hand, who will be that incredible sounding board, who will just offer you some compassion when you really need it. There's usually somebody there, like right in front of your face. Have you ever had that experience when, somebody just appears and you're like, wow, how did that happen? I mean, now, in an odd way, this happens through all of these electronics that we have, and you say something out loud, and then something pops up on your social media or something. That's a little weird, but it does happen. Okay. Also, what happens is when we think about people, places, situations, when we say it out loud, often we invoke that energy, that person, that experience. And I've had this happen to me, like, wow, I thought about that and then it happened. I thought about this person and then there they are. How did that happen? That's the universe supporting us. I believe that, absolutely. So if you put it out there, I need help. I need a sounding board. I need to figure out a new strategy. When you do that, what happens? Great things can happen. And it takes some courage to believe, okay, wherever I am, maybe this feels stuck. So I want to get unstuck. And you ask the universe to help you get unstuck. And you open your eyes and look around and say, who can help me? Right? It's an amazing thing. And it really, really does work. And so, by the way, just this notion of pivot, it doesn't mean it has to be life altering. It just means that, like Reese says, it's a shift in strategy. So how do you find your joy? I go back to Keith. He was so happy yesterday, standing in the company of all these paintings that he's made and presenting his film to those of us who were gathered on a super cold day. He had a level of joy that was contagious, as they say. Everybody was happy with him. I don't know that this means he's going to, be the Picasso of our generation. It has nothing to do with that. It was him fulfilling part of his vision for himself and creating an opportunity for others to embrace him and support him while that was happening. There's a writer whose work I really love, really a thinker. His name is Malidoma Somé. I don't know if any of you have ever read him. He is from Burkina Faso and a great scholar. So I think if I have the story right, he was kind of swept up by Jesuit priests when he was a little kid and very highly educated in the European system. I think he went to Oxford and somewhere else and ended up in California. He wrote a number of books. One of them is called Of Water and the Spirit. And this book, it almost reads like a parable. But in this book, what he's doing, what he said his life's mission was, is to translate an understanding of life lessons from his village life in Burkina Faso to Western culture, which is very, very different. In this book, he talks about the role of community and the importance of the community fulfilling its role in order for the whole community to survive. And one of the things that he describes is it is the responsibility of the community to nurture everyone. Everyone. And everyone is welcome and everyone is considered in high regard. So, like people who are disabled were considered closer to God than the average person. People who had some difference were not shunned, they were heralded. And in this book, he describes how the community's job is to like water the soil for all of the community. So you bring what made me think of it is Keith Brown bringing his art to the community and us celebrating him. Malidoma Somé says it's our responsibility to nurture everyone in our community, to love everyone, to show them that we respect them. That it's our job to do that and to make sure that the soil is moist so that the seeds can be planted and grow. The seeds of our souls, the seeds of our young ones all the way up to the elders. I thought that was so beautiful. This book is really something. I'd highly recommend it, Of Water and the Spirit. And he was married to a woman named Sobonfu Somé, who wrote a couple of books about intimacy and the role of women in fully embracing their power. I'm not sure if either of them is still on this plane with us, but I read their work some years ago. There's so much we can learn from each other. There's so much we can learn from ancestral communities about how to be with each other, how to support each other. This notion of pivoting so that we create a more refined strategy for fulfilling our vision, I think is very important in these times because most of us aren't doing one thing for our whole life. For most of us, it's more than one. But also, it's just recognizing it's okay to tweak. It's okay to change. And we don't have to be alone. If we think about what Malidoma Somé said, we should never think that we're alone because we have community. And so then we have to look at that. Are you part of community? Do you stay in touch with your community? Do you reach out and connect again and again with your community? Do you do that? And if you don't, now is the time. You are not alone. That's the biggest lesson here. You're not alone. Sometimes we feel alone. And so making sure that you nurture community is essential. Then, even when you have those moments of feeling alone, somebody is coming, somebody is calling, somebody is connecting and reconnecting because you have established that. Even in those tender moments, especially in the tender moments, if you can remember that you are not alone, you may have to do some work on your own, but there is a community that is embracing you if you let it and if you embrace it back. Obviously, to me, that having a connection to God, however you understand God, essential. I don't know how you can survive, live without that. I know that some people have a different view. I don't understand it. But when you feel that connection to the divine around you and within you and in connection with other people, it's so powerful. When you feel like you cannot move forward one more step and you remember that you're not alone, you tap back into your faith, you reignite whatever it is within you that helps you to stay in alignment with greatness, it feels good. It it's a form of survival because when you feel like, "Oh, I don't know how I'm going to manage till tomorrow morning," that happens. Reach out. Know that you're not alone. Maybe that's when it's another time to pivot. Okay, what I'm doing right now isn't working. Time to pivot and do something else. Sometimes that pivot is picking up the phone. Who can you call? Say, "Can you walk through this with me? Can you just hear me out? Can you help me by listening without judgment? Can you be a sounding board for me? Can you hold my hand? Can you be a friend right now because that's what I need?" And in turn, when other people need that, can you do that for them? Sometimes the pivot involves outreach. Whatever you need, pay attention to yourself, to your being, so you can figure it out. What do you need in order to be whole in this moment? What do you need to support you if you're in a tender time? Sometimes it means it's time to change your strategy, to pivot. Okay, I've been doing the same thing over and 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 over, and it's not working. Need to change the strategy. How can I do it? What could the change be? You know me, I'm a big believer in lists. Write down what the big vision is and write down step by step the little things that you believe you can do in order to get to that goal. Don't just write down what you wrote down last week, last year, whenever. Write down what your spirit is telling you now. What can you do to make your life better now? What can you do to align yourself more immediately with your goals, with your vision? What can you stop doing that is taking you away from your goals and your vision? Think about it. Meditate on it. Figure out what change, what change in strategy will help you to be in better alignment with your vision of your life. And then do it because it's worth it. It can help you to bring so much joy to your life, and we all deserve that. So I thank you for joining today. I hope that this notion of strategic change will help you fine tune something within your life that could use a little sharpening. It's great to be with you all. Until next time, Have a great day and make it count. Namaste.